G'day, welcome back to Project Brupeg, story of a sunken fishing trawler converting into a global expedition and research boat. Now because we're converting into a research and expedition style boat, we need to make sure she's strong. We also need to make sure we got plenty of ventilation, because when you're cooped up with a whole bunch of people, it's smelly pretty fast. So we've spent a lot of time getting ventilation into the cabins that are under the waterline here in this area of the boat. We realised we haven't quite got enough ventilation, so today we're going to be putting a small ventilation hole on the side that's openable so that we can get some air, and if we want to, we can see the water from there. Okay, part of that isn't true. It's not a ventilation issue. It's a holy shit corrosion issue. Don't know if you can see it. Look at that. So this was something that we didn't deal with years ago. Didn't really know that we had to deal with it, I suppose, but we absolutely have to deal with it now that I understand what its implications are. So parts of the hull there are down to 1 millimeter thick, or thereabouts. So we're going to smash a hole in the side of the hull and replace that plate. We're doing this before we do the kitchen because we need to stay in this room while we're doing the kitchen, and we can't really have any of the smells and stuff that are associated with this piece of steel work and all the welding and painting that go with it while we're trying to sleep in here, because it's critical to dump and run. We have to do it before we launch. Okay, first step, we basically got to mark out what we want to do. So survey rules are, you can't, if you've got a weld, like let's say that this line here was a weld for argument's sake, you can't cut within 100 mil of it. So if you want to cut a panel out and that's your weld, or an original weld, you need to come at least 100 mil away, so on either side you can cut that and put it in, or you can cut straight down the middle of the original weld and basically just start again and reduplicate the original weld. So that's what we're doing. It matters up here. So this line here is an original weld. We're going to slice straight down this original weld across the chine, and then at the deck level we're going to be cutting right the way along there as well. Actually, tell a lie, we're going to come down slightly because I can't get into that, so I need to be able to weld it. So let's come down, say however far this is. Doesn't have to be precise. Right, that's the top, but if I do that, I know that I've got a consistent line the whole way along. Alright, lovely. So now we've got our top. Remember, always radius your corners so that they're stronger, because it's harder for cracks to form. This would be right where the bloody pipes are, isn't it? Alright, so now we've got our corners. Let's throw in some lines for the straights. One thing whenever I'm measuring out a panel for the hull like this is I always try and stick within standard sheet size measurements. So you can get two main sizes of metal, 1.2 meters by 2.4, or 4 feet by 8 feet for those that like hieroglyphics, or you can get 1.5 meters by 3 meters, which is, in a lot of ways, it's a more usable sheet size because you can just do more with it. You know, it's only slightly bigger, but it's just partly it's metric, which is, I mean, it's always better, but you can just do more with it with that amount of steel. You can get bigger sizes. You can get like 6 meters long or 12 meters long, but that's kind of special order stuff, and we never ever need something that big. You would if you were building a boat. You'd do big 12 meter long sheets if you wanted to. We did 6 meter long sheets when we did our roof on the cabin that we built. That certainly made things easy. Yeah, all right. Okay, cool. Now that I've got the basic shape roughed out, I need to transfer that across to the outside, and the easiest way that I know is to drill a hole at the kind of the critical bits, and then you can duplicate the exact markings from here onto the outside pretty easily. So I chuck a 3mm rivet drill. I like to put it at the base of each of these radiuses, so one here and then one up there, and then I put the radius on the outside. I'm always using a 5-inch disc, so I know, or 125mm disc, I know it's always going to be the same radius on every corner and every panel on the boat pretty much. There's no specific science. You could go bigger or smaller. I probably wouldn't go smaller actually, you could definitely go bigger, but just keep it consistent, because then it's just easier to remember it going forward. So yeah, we'll bop a hole in this and then transfer the markings onto the outside. can sort of see I've done a very scientific process of marking out where that corrosion is. But basically, Brupeg had a leak in the galley originally, and all of this stuff here, just basically water was coming down, rusted out this rib, so we're going to replace this rib, this panel. You can see they've obviously had a hole that they've replaced with a bit. That's actually stainless, so I don't know why they stuck a bit of random stainless in there, but under the waterline, it's all good. That's coming out. This stuff here is really thin, probably 1 millimetre thick in this area here. Over here it's probably 3, but either way, that whole lot's going. You can see the corrosion sort of comes down either side of the rib, and then down that one there as well. It's basically making its way right down, and then it sort of sits on the chine. Roughly it ends on the chine, right into those corners there. But we're going to gut those and just replace the whole lot. The rest of the boat's pretty good, like you can sort of see. If I grab a light, it's pretty much just lovely 6mm steel, virtually nothing to see in terms of corrosion or anything like that. So this is the worst bit under the boat that's left. We've cut out a fair bit of minor stuff, but this is basically the worst big panel that has to be done. Kind of something I knew had to be done, but I was just putting it off, pretending that it wasn't there, because that works. That's our line there. All right, here's our new window. Now that I've got a bit of working space, what I want to do, I'm going to get rubbish going down the side of the boat and go between the floorboards and the hull. My plan is to basically get some tape and tape up between the hull and the floorboards so that if any rubbish does fall down, which it will, grinding and whatever, it'll hopefully roll out onto the floorboards where I can deal with it rather than going down and burying itself where it's really hard to clean out. We will rip all of the floorboards up and everything and give this a real thorough clean before we finish. We don't want any loose metal sitting in there because that'll rust itself out of the boat. But yeah, if we can make our life a bit easier now, we will. Yard's getting busy. Bunch of trawlers have been pulled out. Oh, Crane's here with his dog. That dog's a common feature with that yellow crane. They've just repainted that trawler over there. They're going to lift the waterline, it looks like. And then that one over there has just come out in the last day or so.
Dame just got back from the scrap yard and got some 75x6, that's for our ribs. Also got a slab of 6mm steel. It's downgrade steel. That means it's got little bits of rust and marks on it. It can't be used for laser cutting, at least that's what we think it means. It doesn't make any difference for us because we're just welding it in and sandblasting, so it'll work fine. But the thing is about downgrade is there's a big discount for us. The ribs and the steel together cost $210.
So I have some requirements that I didn't know I had when I started this job. I need a straight edge. I'm going to use a plasma cutter. I'm going to plasma cut pretty much the entire thing out. Normally I just use plasma around the corners and then do a 1mm disc on all the straight edges. But I'm not going to do that. And the reason I'm not going to do that is because think of this like grinding in the master bedroom of your house. There's only someone you can do that for your wife says, darling, that shit just won't fly. So plasma cutting's way better because I can blast all of the crap outside of the boat and it leaves very little rubbish in the boat. No dust, a little bit of hot metal, but apart from that, it's all good. So what my plan is, piece of straight metal, a couple of these magnets that have a hole in them. I'm going to essentially drill and tap and basically bolt these on like this. And then I can just stick my straight edge wherever I need it, line it up and use that to run the plasma down. Now normally I would like to drill and tap and use these little wee machine bolts, but I've got one and I need two and the shop doesn't open for a couple of hours. Or when I say a couple of hours, I mean like an hour. And I got shit to do, so I want to get this done, so I'm using countersunk wood screws just like that, and they fit neatly in the thing like that. We're going to put a block of wood on the back and that's going to be our system. I don't want a real long straight edge. I'm happy to move it around as needed because I've got some weird twisty little corners to get into, so a big long straight edge becomes quite unmanageable, but I think this will work. Done. And there's our straight edge. Look at that. Perfect. Right, I'm just going to get the plasma. Let's go with that. When people ask us why don't we use the plasma cutter much, it has a lot of hiccups. You get about that much based on this at 53 amps, and then thermal overload happens and you're done for a while. It's got a really, really small duty cycle on this. Yeah, and it doesn't cut real crash hot. It's acceptable, but it ain't the best work we've done. We'll have to clean quite a bit of this up with a grinder, but once we've got the hole open, it's pretty easy to do that, so yeah. Awesome. While we're waiting for that to cool itself down, give you an idea of what we're able to sort of achieve. Probably a bit hard to focus, but you can kind of, I won't touch it because it's a little bit warm, but it's relatively straight. I'm concentrating on that edge. It's relatively straight, and there's quite a bit of dross on the back, so we'll have to get in there and just knock that off, clean it up. You can see up here where there wasn't enough air going through, it didn't actually blast all the way through. It's that light, there you go, you can see that it hasn't actually gone all the way through, whereas down here where you can see it's clearly gone through, there was a difference in air pressure, so the hose was kinked. I didn't realise it, and it's just chewing out tips. Yeah, so hose is pretty garbage on these little cheap machines. This is just a they call them a cut 50, but this is like a 3-in-1. It does stick welding, TIG welding, and plasma cutting. But it's like bargain basement. I think it was like 350 bucks. We bought it mainly for the plasma. We've only ever really used it for plasma and a little bit of stick. But yeah, it's limitations on these things, eh? My experience with those little that one there, cut 60, cut 50, cut 40, they're all the same. My experience with those guys is they don't like a lot of air pressure. Like a normal commercial plasma, you can smash them out at like 100 psi and just really blast out the steel. Those guys really don't like it without the pilot. They struggle when you have more than about 30, 40 psi, something like that when you start. They can run with higher psi, but you can't start it and then bump it up easily on your own. When Richard was over here, Patreon of ours from Vegas, he gave me a hand and we were doing that. We were like starting at 30 and then smashing it up to 60 and ploughing through some thick steel. But yeah, again, limitations of a little machine. If you know what they are, you can kind of get away with some stuff. It's one of those things, eh? Like, you really got to, on a project like this, balance cost-benefit ratio. You know, like if you use your plasma a lot, spend some money and get a really good one. If you don't use it much, you can kind of get away with these cheapies, but as soon as you start doing a lot of work with them, you really start to notice the drawbacks of them. And don't get me wrong, they got their place. Like if you're just a home hobby type workshop or something like that, and you want a little cheap plasma that you might use a few times a year, they're worth it, eh? I think they're great in that sense. Consumables are cheap. You can replace. I'll put a new gun, a new torch on mine. Yeah, they're pretty cheap to sort of keep running. But yeah, they just don't have a real big duty cycle, so you definitely wouldn't even bother with them for commercial work or anything like that. That said, for everything that goes on to Brupeg, we have to decide, are we going to keep it when we go and hit the water, because we can only take so many tools. We're going to have to get rid of a fair few. So plasma cutter is something that I think we will, keep with us. I'll initially be keeping this little orange one, but I would love to get a better one. Just because they're such a handy tool, you can really get into tight places, you can cut all sorts of weird shapes and that. You're not really restricted like you are with a grinder. But yeah, certainly if you didn't have a plasma cutter, we didn't for the first 2 or 3 years, and you can get away with like using a grinder for most of your stuff, but a plasma does make life a lot easier.
Walking home late at night, maybe 2:30. A little drunk, but I'm alright, 'cause I've been hanging with you, and it feels like love. Tell me if I'm wrong, 'cause it feels like love. Yeah, it feels like love. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't know what you do, but you make me feel fine. And you can't deny we are not just killing time.
So we're getting there. Takes a wee while. This is what it comes up like. So you've got your normal sort of mild carbon black that steel comes in, and then we get it down to this. I don't think it'll show it very well on the camera, but it's basically a nice white metal. So it gets a very light surface rust when you leave it, so we always try and keep it damp until we absolutely finish with it. But yeah, we can easily, like in this state here, I'll start blasting over here, get rid of all that and work my way all the way down, and then I'll come back and give it a real light skim from this end right down, take any rust off, and then I actually spray it with WD-40 or CRC, and it can sit like that for months and it stays that lovely white metal. We do that so that we don't have to blast it inside the boat. So we sandblast it like that. That face goes to the inside of the boat, and it saves us having to do any sort of blasting on the inside. We know that we can just clean it up and paint it, and we've got a nice key for that paint to hold on to. One of the issues when you've got your own sandblasting rig and you start really pushing it and asking it to do lots is it blows holes and things like that. So we've brazed up these fittings quite a few times, but you can see it's wearing through from the inside. That little hole there, another little hole there. So this is on the stainless 316 fitting that screws into a ball valve, so I can turn the sand on and off. So yeah, that comes out there. These pipes blow all the time, but that's easy enough. You just cut 6 inches off and start again. But I didn't manage to hose it off, but we got to sort of here, you can sort of see that dimple there, so I don't know, a bit over 1/3 of that plate is done. People sometimes wonder how we get as much as we do done, and the trick is basically just jamming in more and more work in a way. It can be pretty tiring doing that, but to give you an example, Jess and I have both been up since 5 AM this morning. Jess has been editing. I've done a run into town and collected that steel. I've worked a full working day during the week, like during the day for my normal job. I've plasmed out probably 1/3 of that hole, and then sandblasted 1/3 of this steel. I'm about to do another run into town. We need to get, we normally try and leave parts runs like that until after dark, mainly because we can't do any work on the boat, and Bunnings, the place that we go and pick up stuff, is open till 9 o'clock. So we utilise that time to go and grab it when we can't do anything else. And that's why Jess and I work 90 hours a week pretty much each, because we're just constantly moving and constantly doing something on the boat to afford the project. One of the commercial boats got a paint job. I think they're copying our colour scheme. Alright, so we got absolute bucket loads on today. I took a day off work. Bruce, the commercial welder, he's going to be here soon. We're going to be doing quite a bit of work on the side of the boat. Let me show you what we're up to. The bottom of the boat, right down by the keel, you can see up there we've got some plates of bare steel. They need to be blasted. Mainly they need to be blasted around the welds, because we're going to gouge the old welds out with a plasma cutter, and then we're going to put a proper cap weld in there. Not happy with the ones that are in there, so we're going to redo those. Another job that's going on over a bit further forward. We've got a plate on the keel that needs to be blasted and welded. My welder just isn't hot enough to get in there. When I weld it, I'm getting cracks. So we're getting a stonking great big 580 amp welder, and he might set it on fire. Last job, if we get to it. Cutting the side of the boat out and putting a new piece of steel in. Now this is something that we can do, and we're running very low on time, so it's possible that we will end up doing this, but we can't do either that plate there on the keel or the steelwork up underneath these cooling pipes. So first off, we're going to get Bruce to focus on these. I need to get these blasted, so I'm going to clear out all of the plywood and other bits and pieces that are directly underneath the boat, and then blast up those edges so that he has a really nice edge to weld onto. So that just happened. That was the sand hose coming off on its own accord and just ripping up and down my arm.
Just sit down.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Got to keep it and get infected.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yep. Starting to feel it now. I just ran.
You never just know when these things are going to happen.
The hose clip must have given way. One of the old pipes. Maybe the pipe itself actually blew.
Need to do more maintenance going on.
Yeah. I got
Lift up, I need to get
sorry,
right down.
sorry.
Thanks. Can you move your arm? Just flex your arm a little bit so I can know where to put the bandage.
Yep. Lovely, thank you.
More.
Yep.
Just big enough.
Yep. Yep, good.
Alright, just keep the bandage.
Yep. I feel like one of those dudes with a broken arm on one of those thingies.
See if you got some gym or do we need to redo them?
Oh, I got a little bit.
That's your left day.
Hello.
Hello, what fucking happened to you?
Oh, I just had a morning shower with a sandblaster.
The hose popped and it went up his arm, so he's got grazes.
It went all full pressure, crazy, right next to my arm.
So I can turn that blaster off.
Yeah, that's not needed for a minute.
How are you going?
I'm going alright, a lot better than you.
Correct.
Oh, there. Thanks.
Yeah.
How's the pain levels? Is it alright?
Yeah, it's alright. Go right round.
God, grazes. Oh, grazes are awful though. They're the
Oh,
worst.
they sting.
Oh, they're
Maybe
awful.
hops in the shower tonight.
Oh.
That'll liven you up.
Nasty. Alright, darling.
It fucking went across my head too. Luckily I had the bloody shield thing on.
He came up and he said, is my eye okay? I was like, oh no.
My arm was all red and I was like, is my eye alright?
That's your arm? What's your eye like?
Fuck the arm, what's the eye like?
I'm just going to wrap a little bit more around there so it's just like let it come off. Sorry about you.
Make sure you find some hairy bits and tape on them.
No more of the accidents.
Yeah, right. Fucking hell. Dexterity is slightly compromised.
Yeah, sorry then.
All right. Let's get into it. The yellow thing.
Alright. God, that's so good it wasn't worse.
Yep. Thank
For
you.
not having it be worse.
Thank you for looking after me.
Oh, you're going to be sore. That's alright, we'll look after you tonight.
Yep.
You might need it, 1 or 2 today,
Yep.
you know.
It's there, all right?
Oh, please just go gently. If they're moving on it, they'll be sore, so just let me know.
Yeah.
You might need to have them changed.
Yeah, no worries. I might just smash in urethane and just shut my brain up over it. Yep. Thanks, love.
Give me a long sleeve.
Yeah.
Just give you a bit more
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah. Right, now that wee patch up job's done, let's go and actually look at some work.
You can see here Bruce is using his commercial plasma to cut out and gouge out any of the old welds.
Probably should check the engine bay's not on fire.
The welds inside the engine bay were okay, it's just the ones on the outside here that we weren't sure about, so Bruce is going to replace those.
If I can't get enough heat into it, it just keeps cracking and leaking.
Oh,
This is the one that
behind it.
cement that they poured engine oil in over top of. I've drained it all as much as I can,
Yeah.
but I can't seem to get enough cleanliness to get my welder to hold on, and it leaks and carries on like that.
Yeah. Well, it's not leaking now at the moment.
Yeah, might have drained out, I don't know.
One drained out enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just thinking,
Run a weld over it.
yeah, I'm thinking because of the cement, it's sucking the heat out.
Oh.
Like I've only got a 200 amp welder, so I can't get much. Yeah.
Grinder.
Yeah.
I'll just put a fillet weld over it.
Yep.
Just because it's all sucked in there.
Yeah, cool.
And I'll give it a run over it.
Yeah.
Just do a nice.
Weave over
Even
it.
even a colder, fused but colder
Yeah,
run, just so that it's
Gonna seal it.
going to seal it.
Yeah.
So it's all good. It's only got to
Yeah,
seal it.
yeah. In the lower cabin, this is the. God damn it.
Just do try and talk, go on.
So this is the film set for Dexter.
Oh, what a horrible image. I'm determined.
Can't quite hear you. There seems to be a grinder attached to the boat.
I'm just determined that dust doesn't go everywhere because
Yeah.
it's a nightmare cleaning up.
Okay, what can I do? How can I help?
I just need the tape, I can't reach up very easily. Do you want to do the other side? It's just
Yep.
around there, just at the top.
Oh, yeah. I think everywhere else is done.
I think Karen.
I think Richard's all excited. He's texting me flat out.
Is it?
Tesla.
Maybe you should send him back there. And say, just this high.
I raise you your information about Tesla. Here is a cat on its back.
That's too good. I've got to send it to Tanya and Mum straight away. I can't live without sending it to her. Right, we should probably do the door if everything else is done.
Yeah. I was thinking like 2 overlapping things, plastic or something.
Oh yeah.
So you can get in and
when
out.
tape
Yeah.
it when you're in maybe. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Is that you? Oh, that's
It's me, Richard.
Richard.
Yeah.
He is excited.
He's not stopping.
What's he excited about? Is Tesla?
Tesla's released numbers about how many batteries they've deployed this quarter. Looks like he's fixed the big thing in the wall,
God, he's busy on the house, isn't he?
like a plywood panel thing, and then he's re-stuccoed it.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely. I'll show you what I've got to do. So I've sort of plasmed everything except for the bits here that I can't get the plasma into. So I've got to go through and slice those from the outside.
Okay.
So the plate will come out the side, and then we'll have a little bit of stuff left up there.
Okay.
And then we're welding a new rib from there up.
Oh, I see. You're
Like
leaving a tag.
on all of them,
All right,
yeah.
I'm with you.
Because this bit's still in good nick on all of them.
What's happening with that pipe?
I'm going to cut that out and do a blip.
We should probably cover that that vent up that's going to be covered in shit.
Yeah, we need to. Right, so this is what we got done. Pad on the keel, welded up. We've kind of gone big bulbous welds so that we can absolutely seal it up. It was already on there, so strength-wise it's not really an issue. It's just we had to make sure there's no way it was going to leak. And then the welding that's been gouged out and blasted, you can sort of see a nice big solid spray transfer weld all the way along there, and then on the return behind those keel cooling pipes. So what we need to do now is get in, give a couple of the welds a quick touch up with the grinder because they're a bit too big. These are the ones that I did. And then we'll sandblast those and get some epoxy onto those, onto the bung that goes into the very bottom of the bilge, and then onto the hole in the keel there. I've just noticed a drill hole that I put in yonks ago. I've completely forgotten about that. I have to weld that. Yeah, both wings go up and down on a push of a button now.
Yeah.
So that was a big milestone. Yeah. So got the winches up the top there, and then pulley down, and then a 2-to-1 onto the wing itself.
Yep.
I've yet to do the put the polyethylene in the sliders.
Yeah.
So when I slide them up and down, it's like down a blackboard.
Oh, yeah.
But and then I'll get through and tidy it all up, put a rim in there, and
She's a big boat. She handles some good seas, like 40 knot winds, 35, 40 knot winds will handle it.
Yeah.
Pushes away at it. Over the top.
We've heard.
Ask Scotty in the UK, he's been some big seas off Fraser.
Yeah.
He said, like 25 knot winds, just keep steaming.
Yeah.
You were up at 3? How many cups of tea did you have?
I couldn't have any cups of tea because the milk, the last of the milk I used, she was gone this morning.
Should we get into it?
All right, you had that. Trev's doing the blasting today, blasting the new panel going in and the new ribs going in. So that'll take a little while. And, come around here and I'll show you what we're doing today.
Look at this walking.
I know, it's
This is
amazing,
new.
isn't it? I just keep walking, it's like unbelievable.
Bloody awesome.
I think I'm up to like 100 metres without any problem at all. So I couldn't get 20 before. Amazing. So, here's the beast. So steps today really is getting this panel out. So Dan's got to cut through the last of the ribs that's holding that panel in. And we thought we might cut it out in bits so that it's a bit easier to handle. It's a big piece of chunky thing to pull down, and it's right near the stand, so it's a bit dangerous. So we've got to sort of tidy it up. There's a lot of dross on the outside. You see all this rough stuff. And that's got to get cut down, so maybe use a chisel or a grinder or whatever we're going to need to do. It's going to be a bit of a job. Just the plasma wasn't strong enough, it's a small plasma, so you get this. It doesn't, when you're aiming for it to cut through, it just sort of closes in on the outside. It's just not strong enough to kind of blast everything away. So it's one of the, the cost benefit analysis we have to go through. Get a new plasma, that would be great, but then we can't use something else. So we'll do the best we can anyway. And thank you Bruce for coming and doing the difficult bit, and the keel got done. Look, pretty. So there's not much left on the keel and the hull to do. We've got to put some oil in the keel now. So we've got some bungs up in the what used to be the freezer room, which is now accommodation. So we just open that up and put oil in, and there's concrete in the middle of the keel. So that kind of slides down. It's just a little bit, but it's enough just to stop any rust long term. So we'll get that done in the next month. And yeah, just spot blasting and a little bit of work other than this on the hull, and that's it. We're on to actually getting some of the paint on. So Dane's wearing a pink shirt, pink for thinking.
And accuracy. We don't want to take chances with dodgy measurements, so obviously you put the pink business shirt on.
So you would have seen on the camera yesterday, Dane decided to sandblast his arm just to see what happens. Oh, it looked really bad. Oh, it was awful. But it's what it is. It's like grazes, like a really bad graze. You know, you slide along the road when you're a kid. You know, you come off your bike. It looks like that, but it's like this and that and that, and oh, awful. But it's healed really well. Dane's all wrapped up, and he's got a long shirt on to make sure that nothing gets in it. You know, it's healing well.
I feel like C-3PO. You know how he's like really stiff and weird. I can't bend my arms, and I feel exactly like that.
These things happen.
On the big jobs.
Right. Hello. Two. Ha, ha, ha. Hey? Right, this one's going to be the difficult one. Let's just go with that.
What?
Let's just go with that.
Did it come off when you splash anyway?
Yeah.
Clear.
Just about missed everything.
All right. Where's the bog? We'll smear it.
Bit of the fiberglass.
Yeah. Sticker.
Get some more of that plastic sheet.
Yeah. Structural duct tape, plastic sheet, bog.
Cup tea.
Just to clarify, that's sarcasm. You absolutely wouldn't even need the plastic sheet.
Sticker.
All right, let's go have a coffee.